Welcome back to the NFL Trades Podcast, and we are now in Week 5 of the NFL season. I have a special guest here with me today. Say hello.
Yo, what's up, y'all?
So we got his name is Jonah, and he's from Charlotte. So he's gonna help me out here and talk some football. He's quite new to the game of football. He's trying to learn it.
Yes,
He's watched
sir.
more than he's ever watched this season. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Jonah.
So, I'm 19, right? I'm just doing some normal shit, man. I'm working for my dad and all that. I've just got into football because all my other friends have,
Right.
and I thought it was just boring at first because of all the ads and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the more you watch, like, it does get very interesting throughout the season.
Yes, and that is a big thing about sports is some of these sports it's like, why would I watch this game? There's no implications to it, nothing really important that would give a
Yeah,
reason to watch it. That it's not as an entertaining. There's no tension to it. But when you get to the playoffs, then it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much on the line here. This team needs to do all this, and it's better. And you notice it's better, like
yeah.
better play when it's playoffs.
And also this week 5, I saw a lot of records broken.
Yeah.
A good amount of records were broken. That was very entertaining
Yeah, the
watching the
Jamar Chase. We'll get to that one when we
yes
get to that game because this will be
and
a Week 5 review. I will be kind of like laying down some groundwork here for each game, and then me and Jonah can talk about it. And we'll get some insights from someone that's trying to get into the game of football. So two different minds here. But let's start out with the Buffalo Bills Jags game, the London game. Did you happen to catch this game?
um I woke up for the last quarter. It
Okay.
was early
Yeah,
for me, so
yeah. I set an alarm for that one, and I was able to watch some, most of it, but obviously
yeah.
I needed to watch all of it if I want to talk about it. But I did have to watch it on a seesaw in the cold, so that was
that
entertaining to say the
that sounds
least.
fun.
Yeah. um, but what I noticed was the Jags defense played
Amazing.
they
Yeah.
played so well.
I mean,
The Bills
you
defense
held
did
my
play good.
Bills, man.
Yeah, I mean, Jonah, you like the Bills, right? You like the
I love
Bills?
the Bills. My favorite
Yeah,
team.
favorite team. Okay,
Yes.
so with Tre'Davious White now and Matt Milano both going out in this game, both getting injured. Uh,
Yeah.
do you think that will be a big impact on this defense? Do you think they'll be able to
I think
recover, or what? What do you think?
I think it won't be as terrible as what people are saying on Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can't listen
But
to
I
everybody on
think
Twitter.
like it's definitely going to be a little rough for their defense, just a little bit. I have not looked at their schedule today, so I don't know who they're facing next week.
Uh, the Bills are playing the Giants on I believe it's Sunday Night Football. It's one of the primetime games.
I
Everyone's
yeah,
scheduling it to be a blowout. Especially if you're playing the Giants, defense
yeah,
isn't going to be too much of a factor there with how bad their
yeah.
offense has been
I
playing.
mean, yeah, and we have a great defense still. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
we're just missing two
yeah.
people. It's Daniel Jones. Is he the number one sack QB NFL right now?
It's either him or Sam Howell. I haven't checked after week 5, but after
Yeah,
week 4, he was the most sacked QB in the league,
yeah.
right in front of Sam Howell.
His offensive line is not doing too good.
Yeah, no, it's been really rough, and I will talk about that when I look at the Dolphins Giants game. But with this London game here, the Jags defense outperformed the Bills defense, which was
One
kind of a
hundred
shocker.
percent.
But I believe
Yeah.
the Bills defense did play very well as well.
Yes.
But the D line was able to get pressures, which wasn't something we were seeing. That wasn't something we were seeing at all the first 4 weeks. Uh,
Yes.
they were supposed to be developing, turning into. They had Trayvon Walker, the first round, the number 1 overall pick last year, who's been struggling, and it looks like Aiden Hutchinson was the better pick for the Lions. But we
Have
were
you
expecting, okay, maybe, sophomore year. But it's looking like a sophomore slump for Trayvon. It just that defensive line's been struggling, and in this game they got in a lot of pressures, and they made Josh Allen have to switch to the quick game. Bills
But I
O-line
think he's
just
good
too
at
many
the quick
flags.
game as well.
What?
I think he's one of the best QBs for the quick game.
Yeah, so it was so we can talk about how so they couldn't get their run game going,
Yeah.
mostly because the D-line was in the that was probably one of the biggest things to talk about is they're in the run game. They were playing so good because if Bills were trying to go on the inside, they were there. Outside, they were there. They were just everything was they were reading everything, and they were just stopping everything. And so James Cook couldn't do anything. They couldn't get their run game going. And there was a stat they showed in the game. It was something like Josh Allen has in play action passes, and you know what a play action pass is, correct?
Yes.
So in a play action pass, right, where the QB is faking the run,
Yes.
and then looking to pass. Josh Allen had a perfect passer rating, which is 158.3. Perfect passer rating when
That's the
play
ESPN
action,
stat, right?
right? And when you don't have a running game, you can't call play action passes because
that is true.
Right? So like they weren't able to do that as often as they would want to. And so they were resulting and obviously not Ken Dorsey. Dorsey had to switch it up and change how they were playing, and they took till the end of the first half to get the passing game going, because that was what they needed to lean on to win that game, and it just was a little too late. And then it just I mean both defenses just played amazing football, and it was just a nice defensive game for us.
I mean, still, Josh Allen really, he had it in the passing. He had 359 yards.
Yeah, so
that's pretty good.
See, that's what I'm saying is they were able to get the passing game going, but it wasn't leading to touchdowns. They were struggling in the red zone a lot, and it just this Jags defense was just playing out of their minds.
Too. They took out the Gabe Davis touchdown, and then he got it
and then he got it back. Yeah, he's like,
yeah,
Uno reverse card. Give me that thing back. That was ball don't lie type stuff. I don't. That call was so
It was weird.
It was so weird. Anyways.
Yeah.
I was like, well, why are we calling offensive pass interference there? But he got his. I was like, they deserve this touchdown now, and that's what they got it back. But no, they were starting to kind of come back. And then what the biggest statement for me was when Darius Williams, who is a defensive back who has been kind of struggling this year, who came from the Rams, and he had a good first stint with the Jags last year, and he's been struggling this year. And bro, had an amazing tackle on the second point conversion. I don't remember who he was tackling. It was amazing. It was perfect form, everything, and it just stopped the Bills' momentum completely. And then ends up getting an interception as well. I think he just played out of his mind, and whenever you have your whole defense just firing on all cylinders, playing just out of their minds.
Yeah,
I don't care who was playing quarterback at that point. I mean, but it's just it's crazy because where was this the first 4 weeks? They weren't playing like this, right? So of course the Jets also played very well against Josh Allen week 1, and then it's kind of not been there ever since. So is it the Bills' offense? Something with the Bills' offense? No, because like you just said, they had 359 passing yards. But
numbers don't lie. People do,
But if we look at most of where their turnovers are, I believe they're typically more when they're in the red zone. So maybe they're struggling in the red zone, and they're trying to force things when they feel kind of pressured. So we've seen Josh Allen running the ball less. So he's trying to stay in the pocket more.
Than last season.
Yeah.
A lot less.
Yeah. And that was because they had James Cook, so they understood they were leaning on his run game a little too much last year. Yeah. And then we have James Cook, who's developing, and now he's playing better. Let's kind of balance it out here. But now it's the same thing with Justin Fields, who padding stats last year, but they go 3-14, right? And yet, or 4-13, whatever. Padding stats, he got so many rushing yards last year, but it didn't win them games, right? And with Allen, they leaned too much on his run game, right? And it just wasn't working. So now it's like, okay, well now he's not doing enough rushing, maybe. And then when James Cook got taken out of the game, maybe they needed to do more of that. Maybe they needed to implement that same type of system they were doing last year into this game, because it would have added a whole nother dynamic, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, they probably could have won the game then.
Yeah.
They just
honestly,
needed, 6 points? They just needed a touchdown.
It was as much as like the whole game felt like the Jaguars were doing it. And it's not like the Jaguars offense was playing amazing either, but like you could tell the Jaguars had all the momentum most of the game, right?
I mean,
they scored the touchdown right away.
Having a good day, man. Like really.
Like it feels like we shouldn't bag on the Bills offense that much because the Jags offense wasn't playing crazy. Like they had a lot of 3-and-outs as well.
Yeah.
But and it was just crazy. Well, the expectation is there because it was crazy because we saw what they did to Dolphins last week, right? When they had the Dolphins defense.
After the week before, they had their 70-point game.
Yeah. Well, this Dolphins defense, right? They haven't been playing that good. They've been playing. They were playing decent, but then it was like the Bills just made them a whole different level, whole different tier.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between the Broncos defense and Buffalo's defense for sure.
Yeah, and
definitely a big difference.
They got to see that. They're like, okay, well this was so easy. I mean, we saw them against the Dolphins against the Broncos. They're like, let's figure out a celebration for this next touchdown because
did you see that so easy picture of their offense coordinator in the stands?
Yeah, that was
so funny.
I still don't know to this point if Mike McDaniel actually was in the stands. I don't think so. I don't think that was true. But
you see the caption? It was like, "Swear I'll run this play." It was so funny.
What play you want to run next? Oh my! Can you imagine if the team was dominating a team so bad, they're like the coach just goes up in the stands and just like asking fans after every play, just asking which fan which play should we run? Yeah. And just imagine one works too. Like, what a poverty defense that would be. I don't understand how that's the Dolphins defensive coordinator. How Vance Joseph still has a job, which is the Broncos defensive coordinator. Yeah. I don't understand it, but I guess
wasn't who's Hackett? I saw Aaron Rodgers tweeted out hashtag Hackett.
Okay, so the Nathaniel Hackett thing, and I guess we'll go over the
Just
Jets
do it over quick. So
okay, the Jets Broncos, because that's Broncos still. So Nathaniel Hackett, I'll inform you, was the head coach of the Broncos last year, in which might have been one of the worst head coaching jobs we've seen in a while. Mm-hmm. And it was supposed to be like, okay, you get Aaron Rodgers, old offensive coordinator from Green Bay, and he goes to Denver to coach up a new Russell Wilson who's on a new contract, new situation, was struggling in Seattle because things were falling apart. And everyone's like, okay, we're going to have these two guys come together and everything will work.
Yes.
No, it did not. It did not work at all.
Definitely not.
It was one of the roughest seasons I ever watched. Like, everything was going wrong. Like, yeah, they might have not had like a season they might have not been the worst team in NFL, but the expectations were all the way up here. I know you can't see this right now, but the expectations were all the way here, but they performed here. Whereas the Bears, they performed a little bit under, but their expectations were way lower. You see what I'm saying? The expectations were so high, and then they performed here. That's like if the Jets performed how the Broncos performed last year, with Aaron Rodgers still being there, and they performed the same way the Broncos performed last year. That's like the same concept. That's how bad it was. But now Nathaniel Hackett is going to the Jets, right? And he's going to coach up his old buddy that he used to coach or offensive coordinate, or he used to coach up in Green Bay. He's with his old buddy Aaron Rodgers, and that's going to go smooth because they know each other. They've already worked in the same offense countless of times.
Yes.
And Sean Payton, the new Broncos coach, who had been coaching in New Orleans his whole career pretty much in the NFL, says that was one of the worst head coaching jobs we've seen in a while. And yeah, it might be true, but you just don't go on the media and say that.
Yeah.
And so obviously the Jets team took that to heart, and they kept making fun of the whole situation, blah blah blah, all this. And so they marked on their calendars Week 5 against the Broncos. It was a revenge game for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they made it sure everybody knew that. And whenever they won, they gave him the game ball, and they made him a captain before the game, because they were like, this is a revenge game for Nathaniel Hackett. And they got so excited when they won and won 4. And they were like, that was literally like, we're out for blood. They were out for blood. And then what does Robert Saleh, who the Jets head coach, what does he say to Sean Payton when he walks up to him to shake his hand? He goes, stay humble. That's it. And then walks away.
Stay humble.
It was that personal, right? So that's why you don't say crap against people, because
especially in football.
And especially the team you're going to play 5 weeks into the season, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter like what the record is. When you wake up that Sunday, you should be prepared like it's the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because
exactly. That goes back to the Bills.
One interception, anything.
That goes back to the Dolphins-Bills game. Dolphins kind of were playing them like they were the Broncos defense again. It just you gotta switch up your game. I mean, you gotta play your game to an extent. Like if you're playing your game and it's working very well, yeah, that's cool and all. But the next game, when you're playing a whole different defense with a whole different defensive coordinator, you gotta change it up a little bit. And they struggled to change it up. Teron Armstead, their left tackle, gets hurt. The Bills are getting more pressures. Now we're getting 3 and outs. Bills offense is still lighting up because, again, they exposed how bad the Dolphins defense really is, especially with Kader Kahu, who is one of their backup corners, who is now in their starting position because they don't have Jalen Ramsey. And it just, like, Stephon Diggs exposed him completely on the outside, and it was, I think he had 3 touchdowns that day. So
he definitely cashed me some money. Tell you what.
So yeah, you see a top end wide receiver going up against Kader Kahu, bet the living heck out of that. Because he was getting burned. He was playing super aggressive. I would never play aggressive against someone like Stephon Diggs, because he will absolutely expose you and definitely take advantage of it. All right, we're going to move on.
Let's go back to New York real quick. I just have one quick question.
Yep.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers will be healed for postseason if they do go to the playoffs?
That is a weird one. So he's trying to do his He's trying to do all of his external stuff that you don't see often by players, and I don't know all the details of it, but he is attempting other forms of rehab. Will you say? To try and get back quicker.
Cells. I think
it is crazy because he is 39. Wait, what were you going to say about that?
I think he's doing stem cells to get, what LeBron does.
LeBron has crazy amount of money to just keep his body in good shape. Like
Aaron Rodgers does too. Even after he donated like half to the Jets, he's got a lot of money, man.
No, he was willing to give up a lot of money to the Jets just so he could play here. He wants to win a Super Bowl. And that's why it was like you get all this offseason hype for the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is going to play for this team. He's going to try and win him a Super Bowl since the last time since Joe Namath did in Super Bowl 3, which has been how many years?
What?
Like 60.
Wait, have they really
or 50?
Not won a Super Bowl since Super Bowl 3?
Yeah, no, they haven't won a Super Bowl since Super Bowl
3. Oh my God, I didn't even know that.
They haven't had a good quarterback since Super Bowl 3.
Oh.
So yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah, no, it's been. I mean, they've had Mark Sanchez, but he was more mediocre. He was more, on the average side more than anything. And now Zach Wilson, who was supposed to be their token guy, is just not.
I mean, he's doing.
He's doing good the last 2 games, and I was going to talk about. I was literally going to talk about that. I'm impressed with how he's playing. It's going to come down to if he continues the decision making.
Yes.
That is literally it. If he can continue this decision making, then he'll be fine. And that's literally what it comes down
I
to.
think 100%. And he has Aaron Rodgers. It's like someone to look up to, someone to talk to, ask
Yeah, I
advice.
mean,
So
my hair's a little annoying. I mean, yeah, like that's what's nice is like Aaron Rodgers can continue to give him tips because it was most likely probably just like Zach Wilson just watching behind him during camp, right? And because obviously he wouldn't give him tips too much if he's going to be the starter, and then it's more focused on Aaron Rodgers. But now Aaron Rodgers can sit back and kind of help him out, and like kind of be like that backup, like kind of like a backup offensive coordinator in the sense that he's like assisting Zach Wilson, or I guess you could say a backup quarterback coach. But I mean, like it is nice that he's there for him right now because. And especially, and that comes with Zach Wilson being willing to be accepting Aaron Rodgers into the building, because a lot of quarterbacks have been like, I'm supposed to be the starter. I got drafted 2nd overall in the 1st round. Like, I'm supposed to be this guy. I know I had a rough season last year, but you can't just bring in another quarterback and expect me to be just fine and dandy with it, right? So for him to come, like, accept it, mature, or show his maturity, like that was because he made some bad comments last year, and it was like irresponsible comments that a PR team would not be happy about. Yeah. And it felt like he was losing the locker room last year, and then they benched him, and he just wasn't taking it the right way. But then when Aaron Rodgers comes in, it like changed him. Like he was just all of a sudden this mature guy, and now he started off rough in this when he came in for Aaron Rodgers, but he still won week 1, and then the last 2 weeks have been pretty nice. Like even though he didn't win against the Chiefs,
he's still competing.
He outplayed.
It's not
Patrick
like
Mahomes.
the Patriots.
Yeah,
the Patriots are doing nothing. Well, at least Zach Wilson, he outdid Patrick Mahomes. He's the first quarterback in college and NFL to do that.
Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
That's impressive.
Looking at all his stats, he outperformed him. Like. He was just on a tear, and you can't deny that one. I'm going to try and move on to another game here. We're about 25 minutes in. I do want to talk. I want to just highlight these 2 things. Doug Peterson did a great job of incorporating Ridley and Etienne, or incorporating all of his pieces that he has. He has he has Zay Jones, who showed that he is important in this offense, because when he was out, they just couldn't do anything in the middle of the field. So, or not middle of the field. They couldn't do any deep balls. Like they couldn't get that. They couldn't really have any explosive plays. But with Zay Jones back, Christian Kirk was able to open up, and Calvin Ridley and Etienne just played amazing out of their minds. And I praise Doug Peterson for being able to, utilize his weapons correctly and get the people the ball that need to get the ball, because Falcons, on the other hand, who we saw struggle and play against the Jags in the other London game, we saw he can't, Arthur Smith for the Falcons can't do the same thing. But for Doug Peterson to show his ability to get these guys open and available, and always it's amazing how he can scheme up plays so that Calvin Ridley be the target now, and Christian Kirk will be the guy now, and Zay Jones. Like the fact that they have those 3 receivers, like it's for especially for Trevor Lawrence, who we want to see him take that next step. So, and with this kind of wide receiver group, I feel like he can. It will come down to, and he struggles at the first half of the season every year so far. So maybe we see him take that step later down the year. Yeah, that's it for that game. We're going to move on to Ravens and Steelers. And see, now I have a little bias here, so it's easy for me to talk about this game.
I think I'm pretty even. I do like Baltimore a little bit more, but this was an upset. No doubt about it. This is an upset. 100%. I thought the Ravens would stop the Steelers completely. Mm-hmm. Did not happen at all. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, so we've been talking about this on this podcast, is divisional games typically don't, like whatever you're seeing from those teams before that divisional game happens, it's not going to be at all how that game works. It's going to be how those games have worked in the past, right? Because these teams understand how they operate completely. So it's going to be like, for example, the Ravens-Steelers game was more of a defensive game than anything, right? And it was more of like we're going to like stop you whenever you're not expecting to get stopped, and we're going to make plays on the defense that stops your whole offensive like drive that you were getting going. And we saw that with Joey Porter Jr. getting an interception and late in the game. And then I don't know what happened, but the Steelers offense just opened up late in the game, and then obviously Kenny Pickett just says screw you to Matt Canada, and he said this, he changed the routes that the receivers were running, and he also changed the pass protection, right? So, and then Matt Canada was not happy. Obviously, we saw in the broadcast because they showed his face that he was not happy when they scored that touchdown, and that's because Kenny Pickett overrided his call, which we've seen with Ben Roethlisberger before, who's done that with Randy Fitchner, who was the former OC there at in Pittsburgh. Ravens, Lamar, I don't know what that decision was to throw that ball towards JPJ. JPJ, by the way, has had a PF grade of 91.4, PFF grade, and it's like 0 passer rating whenever teams target him. So he's just a lockdown corner, it seems like.
Yeah,
and it looks like he'll have a long time in this NFL. I hope he keeps growing. Because there's some things that we'd like to see change, but I think this defense, which allows a lot of passing yards, this Ravens offense, right? A lot of drops for these receivers, right? And they didn't have a drop going into this game, and they dropped the ball immediately, right? So it just something about like this rivalry and just these Ravens players just not like, I guess, mentally there, and they were just making crucial mental errors where they were dropping the ball a lot. And whenever you don't have that passing game against the Steelers team, then it's going to be rough because then they can focus more on the run game. And when both your backs are injured, it's hard to get the run game going. So because they have, I can't remember if Gus Edwards got hurt, but he might have. But it does suck.
I mean, he only has 48 yards. Oh no, he's active.
Who is
active? Not get hurt. Gus Edwards.
Okay, Gus Edwards. Yeah, yes. You said he had 48 yards in that game.
Yes, he did.
On how many carries does it say?
Here.
Because yep,
12
carries for 40. So
carries.
Averaging. That's not.
It's not terrible. Averaging 4.
Yeah, averaging 4 yards a carry. Right. I mean, it just. I mean, the fact that they couldn't get running game going or passing game going is. I mean, because like Steelers have been getting run over. Like, yeah, they're making the most turnovers. They're making the most turnovers in the league, but their passing game, running game just hasn't been there. Yeah. But like I said, man, in these rivalry games, it feels like anything can happen.
You got that fire behind the game, like it's
No, it's
a
whole
beat
mental
these guys
game.
this week. Yeah.
Apparently, so yeah, Lamar goes 1-3 now against the Steelers. He just that's one thing too. Lamar's only ever won one game against the Steelers. And he's only ever played 3 games against the Steelers team, even though he's been here since 2018, 2019. Or not 2019, 2018.
He only went 22 for 38 on passes.
Yeah, I mean, the completions are there, but they couldn't score. Like, they were making bad decisions in the red zone. It's the same thing with the Bills. Like, I mean, this red zone scoring has been struggling for some of these offenses, and it comes down to really the decision making that happens in the red zone. What was the one team that feels automatic in the red zone? I think it was either the Lions. No, it was the Bills.
I feel like the 49ers.
Yeah, the 49ers definitely have a good red zone offense. I think the Bills actually were highest in the NFL before the Jags game. So it was odd to see them just struggle in that, and I just feel like the Jags defense just played amazing. Like they just like everyone was playing good, and that's just how it was. Like there was no argument. Like everybody was like firing on all cylinders. I hate to keep using that term, but that's literally what it is.
Yep.
All these
They
guys
just
are
played like
yeah,
honestly their best
just
defense
played their
of the
best game.
season. Literally.
And I
Their best
said,
defense.
and I said something about the Jags offense. Like if they keep teeter tottering, they can't win these games because their defense isn't there. The Jags were playing just inconsistent ball, and like offensively, but you can play inconsistently offensively if your defense is playing like that. And the same thing with the Steelers. Like they're super inconsistent. Well, they're more consistently just terrible on the offense, and that's partially because Matt Canada. But like if your defense is there and they're creating turnovers and putting you in good field position, is it really going to matter, right? And that's kind of what it comes down to with some of these teams like the Jets or the Steelers. Their defenses are going to do most of the work for them, right, and put them in a good position. And that's kind of what they did in this Ravens game, and they gave them opportunities, and then for some reason the Steelers offense lights up in the second half. Couldn't tell you why, but
be a locker room
Matt
speech.
Canada was still horribly play calling the game. But he's not going to be gone especially because they won the game. But I'm sure every Steelers fan would love to fire him, especially after everybody in the Penguins arena, which is hockey. Everyone in the Penguins arena was cheering for him to get fired. So,
do you think he should get fired? You're a Steelers fan.
Yeah, no, he should.
100%.
He should get fired, but he won't. But hopefully next year we don't extend him and we look for somebody else. Right, that is what we're looking for here. We're gonna go on to the next one, which is oh my gosh. Okay. I got some other stuff actually to talk about. So with Matt Canada too, there's a lack of O-line shifting the O-line for pass protection and pass rushing, and the calls are obviously too basic and predictable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like what Antonio Brown was saying, which a lot of people have been joking around about Antonio Brown becoming the offensive coordinator because it's just that bad at this point. Where the plays are just too basic, where a wide receiver that played in the Steelers offense could easily come up with more plays that are less basic. So I mean, it's crazy, and that's literally what it will just come down to is if the Steelers just start playing horrible and they just because this is the problem. They were winning against their offense was doing good against bad defenses, and their offense was doing horrible against good defenses. And then they meet the Texans defense, and for some reason they just struggle. And so we're like, okay, this has to be it, right? They just struggled against a defense that is super young, super inexperienced. There's no way Matt Canada still is going to have a job. And then they beat the Ravens. They go ahead and beat the Ravens, and it's like, shoot. He's still going to have a job because there's no way they fire him after that, right? So it does suck, but at the same time, we're leading the AFC North with one of the worst offenses in the league. So don't ask me how that works.
Very impressive.
I know. Could I have told you we'd be 3-2 right now? Yes. Could I have told we'd done it in the fashion we did it? No, not a shot. All right, next up, Giants and Dolphins. Giants have 0 takeaways. Can you imagine that? Their defense has no takeaways. Oh, wait. They had one, and it was a pick six. Their first takeaway was a pick six by, was it McKinney? No. It was Pinion. I forget who it was. It was Pinnock or Pinnock or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But the point is, it was their only touchdown in New York. In New York this season.
Let's give this touchdown some credit. Record 102 yards, man.
Isn't that crazy?
102
like that
yard reception return. Come on.
Their only touchdown in their home stadium is a record-breaking defensive pick six.
That's
it was
crazy
by
to me, man.
James Pinnock, right?
Yes, Jason Pinnock.
Jason Pinnock. Okay. Yeah. I just thought offensive line, like we said earlier, just making this Dolphins defensive line actually look good, right? And it's just like, really, like Evan Neal, man, I don't know what's going on. First round pick, had a rough rookie year. We thought, okay, maybe he's a rookie, right? We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It feels like he's going the other way, right? It feels like he's already playing worse than he was last year. And you just don't like seeing that out of a rookie, especially when he was supposed to be your shining star, because you didn't see a lot more on that offense other than Andrew Thomas. The offensive line really sucked. And it just sucks because if they could have two good tackles, it really doesn't matter on the interior, man. If they can have two good tackles, they can change things the way they want to, and it'd be all fine and dandy. But with Evan Neal not playing as good as he should, then you're gonna have problems.
100%.
I
want to talk about this the Tyreek Hill. Did he break a speed record?
Yeah, so he
69-yard pass.
Get this right. So he's going 22 miles per. What was it? 22 something miles per hour.
Jesus.
Yeah,
wait,
right.
How fast is Usain Bolt? Wait, let me.
I don't know. You can look. Yeah, look that.
Quick Google.
So while he's looking that up, 22 miles per hour, somewhere around there. So yeah, look up Tyreek Hill's how fast he was going. Devon Achane was behind him, and he was jogging. Okay, I gotta Achane, Devon Achane. I think he changed the pronunciation of it. I don't know. I like saying Devon Achane because that's how he was at Texas A&M. But anyways, he was jogging. And he caught up to Tyreek, who was going the fastest we've ever seen a player go this season, and he just jogged up to him. What is this offense, man? It is one of the fastest offense we've ever seen, if not the fastest offense we've ever seen in the NFL ever.
The Dolphins offense, I think it's all the top 10 fastest players.
Yes,
NFL.
That's what I remember tweeting out about that. Like it was putting a post on Instagram. If you're watching this, you don't follow NFL Trades. What the heck are you doing, man?
Go follow
NFL Trades on
Instagram.
Go
follow it right now.
Go follow it right now. Anyways, I posted on there. It was like all the speeds, and it was like the top six speeds were all from Dolphins players. And there was someone, I don't know who, I think it might have been Mostert or Achane, who had two different top speeds. And it was like, yeah, it was just like the Dolphins brought in Raheem Mostert, who was, low drafted pick from San Francisco, and he comes in and he played decent. He played really good in playoff games because of Kyle Shanahan's offense, and everyone's like, oh, he was just a product of Kyle Shanahan's offense. And he had one of his biggest highlights was he had one of the fastest. I think the fastest. Actually, he might have had the fastest run that season in San Francisco. And so Dolphins pick him up, and everyone's like, oh, he's just a product. And then they don't utilize him correctly, and it just doesn't work. But Mike McDaniels has done a good job of utilizing the speed that he has, right? And making these guys get open in a way that allows Tua to have the easiest possible decisions. And, a lot of people are going to sit here and be like, okay, how much credit do we really give to Tua and how much credit do we give to Mike McDaniel? Because this offense, because it's just one of the fastest offense we've ever seen.
I think Mike McDaniels really does deserve the credit he's getting.
He is one of the runner-ups for coach of the year right now. So
yes,
he's doing what he's got to do.
Just want to point out real quick, Usain Bolt's top speed is 27 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So
they've done these things where they have a line where Tyreek Hill ran his combine or ran that certain distance, and they show the speed. and they show it behind Olympic runners, and he's like almost neck and neck with some of these Olympic
Oh
runners.
my god.
And then you have Usain Bolt, who's in the front of the pack, just beating everybody. But yeah,
insane.
it's like, dude could run in the Olympics, and then we saw DK Metcalf try out for some USA Olympic stuff, not Olympic stuff, but like USA track and field stuff. Like, some of these guys can do that stuff, but they choose to play football. And man, when you just randomly just get all the track athletes on one team who also can ball and play football, because yeah, you can have a track athlete on a football team, but like, if he doesn't have other, aspects to his game, then is he really going to be a good football player? Probably not. So, I mean, we've seen Eagles kind of like go for those track athletes for their kick return team, punt return team.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's working out. I can't remember the punt returner's name, because who's out here studying the punt returners' names? But yeah, I mean, some of these teams are building based on speed, and it is awesome to see how well it's working out for the Dolphins. And their GM did an amazing job doing that, for sure. They have the most
100%.
scrimmage yards in the first 5 games of the NFL season, so in passing and rushing. So something's working, right? Yeah, they might have lost to the Bills, but something's working. I predicted them to be the top team in the AFC, and everyone questioned me like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I was like, "Their schedule's easy." And then someone tried to argue they have the hardest schedule, but I was like, their schedule's pretty easy, and their offense is only getting better. And we see that now. And with Tua now healthy, and yes, people were questioning like, oh yeah, Tua. Some people were saying like, oh yeah, Tua can do. This Dolphins team can have that high roof, like where they're getting 12 wins in a season. But if Tua's not healthy, I feel like the highest they can get is 8 wins. And yeah, to an extent, I can agree with that. But I just feel like the only problem he wasn't healthy is because he was sustaining concussions because he didn't know how to land correctly. Did you know he took jiu-jitsu classes just so he could fall correctly this offseason?
Isn't
that crazy? Like,
that's real dedication. I'm gonna be honest.
I was gonna say
that's real dedication.
It's the small things that matter. And when I listen to something about D-Hop does something with his hands like all the time. He's doing stuff with his hands all the time, like just creating that wrist strength. It's the little things that some of these players are willing to do that actually makes them great players. And for Tua to do that stuff in the offseason to make sure that he's not having these concussions every single other game.
And I think it's worked.
It's working.
It's worked pretty
right?
well.
And we're seeing him fall correctly. We're seeing not him. We're seeing him not on the injured list, and he's able to distribute the ball in which he needs to because he's accurate, right? And everyone was talking about Mike McDaniel, Tyreek Hill. They were all talking about his accuracy, and everyone wanted to say blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he's accurate. Now, the problem is he doesn't have that great of a deep ball. He can't really get it, or he can't get it that far, right? And that is a problem, especially when you have the fastest guys who are to create separation and get away from the opponent in the defensive back. It would be nice to have a deep ball because then if someone gets yards, and they you don't want them to stop, right? You don't want them to, like, okay, they created the separation. You don't want them to stop because the defensive back's going to, pull up and already be on them. But it's nice that he has an accuracy because if they catch up to him because the player, the wide receiver has to slow down for his lack of arm strength, then the ball is accurate enough to where the wide receiver can make that catch and it can avoid the DB. So it is nice, but if he did have that deep ball in his bag, then yes, this team would be even more scarier, for sure.
He already is a top contender for quarterback, but he would definitely be like,
yeah, he's in the MVP
in the top 3.
Yeah, I mean,
if he isn't in the top 3 already.
I want to be in a believer that he is one of the top quarterbacks and he deserves credit. And this isn't just Mike McDaniels and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert. I want to believe that he is a good quarterback. Same thing with Brock Purdy. Same concept that I want to believe that these guys are actually the guys. And I've heard a lot of the media talking about how Brock Purdy, it's time to say he is that guy, right? So
yeah.
Do I have anything else on this game? Yeah, but the Devon A-Chain thing, man. 12. I think it's like 12.2 rushing yards
Ooh,
per carry.
that's amazing.
That's a guaranteed
Incredible.
first down
Yeah.
every time he has the
That's
ball in his hands.
incredible.
I
That's
Man, I
honestly
was
unheard
so
of.
high
Like
excited for
I've
him.
never heard of that.
So he was the third running back on my list, right? And he gets taken third by the Dolphins. Believe it was in the third round. And with all the Jahmyr Gibbs and the Bijan Robinson hype, he was kind of like hidden, right? He was like hidden back. Everyone's like, oh, it's these two guys, and then yeah, it's like this gray area. But he's proving that he deserved to be like, listed with those guys, and I'm happy to see that he's immediately making an impact in this offense because I didn't understand if it would be this quick or not. Because truthfully, I didn't know, but I knew that the running back situation was rough,
Crucial?
so I understood that he had a
Yeah.
chance to get snaps early, but I didn't know it would be this quick that he's making an impact, and I love it every second of it because I got to see him blossom in college and analyze his game, and to see him make steps even between college and football is just amazing. And for him to come in the NFL in this offense, I'm sure he's happy about that because this offense is fun to watch, and I know you can agree with that.
Speaking of an incredible like transfer from college to NFL, CJ Stroud, man.
Yeah,
He is
so
playing
let's talk about the
incredible.
Texans game here. I don't have too much on it. So with the Texans, yeah, they did lose that game. End up losing that game,
Yes. But it was very close.
and CJ Stroud
Very
did throw his
close.
first interception. But man, he's just
Those
been on a
first 4 weeks,
tear.
man.
Yeah, and he was
Ooh.
like that quarterback where everyone was kind of scrutinizing. Like they're like, yes,
Yeah, they
Bryce Young
call
had his short things. Like he was like, oh, he's so short, blah blah blah. He can't see over his O line. But like I feel like CJ Stroud had like this like, oh, he has this high ceiling, or this somewhat high ceiling, not high as Bryce
I
Young
think it
or
was his
Anthony
test
Richardson, but he
scores.
has a low, but he has a high floor, right? He can
Yeah.
come in and be that guy, and we're seeing it, and we saw Davis Mills do it with the Texans offense. So I want to make sure that he doesn't get complacent here, because one of the things that he changed from his game that we didn't see much of in college, except for the last game that he played in college, was that he was able to thrive in pressure and accept that he was going to get pressured and not run away too fast, get too antsy, and he's able to anticipate the pressure, stay in the pocket, make the throw. He hasn't been running that much. I mean, he
Yeah.
has legs. We saw it in the bowl game, but he hasn't been running that much, right? And he hasn't had to. He's been finding receivers, going through his progressions, and for him to thrive in an offense where we didn't see much at all the last couple years since Deshaun Watson has just been awesome to watch. And then guys like Nico Collins have stepped up for him, and Dalton Schultz has had some couple games where he was kind of like thrown away ever since he didn't get franchise, or ever since he got kind of thrown away from the Cowboys, and everyone kind of like wrote him off too. He's getting older, right? So for these guys, and then the line, man, the O line has been playing so good for no reason. They're
Beautiful.
supposed to be so bad, and they've
Just
been playing
beautiful, man.
amazing, right? And for him to play,
That game, Houston versus Atlanta, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time.
yeah, that game
Like
was
it was
amazing.
truly like fun to watch.
Yes, and the Falcons' offense did take steps to improve since the London game, and we saw that. Uh,
Yeah.
let me do something real quick.
I mean,
But like, it was good to see that, because the Falcons, they were struggling with their weapons. They didn't know how to utilize them correctly, and that comes down to like Arthur Smith and Desmond Ritter not making the right decisions in
yeah, I
certain
think it
plays.
was
But
definitely
they changed that this week.
Ritter, yeah, I feel like he was just off his
Right.
first couple games. His first game he only had 115 yards. Um, he's barely getting over 200. You know,
Yeah, and
if
that
that. And then this game he gets 329. I mean, he went crazy, man. Like
A lot
he
of it
locked
has been
in.
like, here, Desmond, make the right decision. Get it, distribute the ball to your weapons because, man, these guys are talented. You have Kyle Pitts, Bijan
Hmm.
Robinson, you have Drake London over the top. Like, these guys are very talented. Just get them the ball somehow
Yeah,
in the
it's
passing
like he's
game, right?
scared or something. Like
He's
for
not
an
comfortable, right?
interception. Yeah,
He's not confident. But he was comfortable. He was confident in this game, and he was comfortable in this game, and a lot of it kind of has to do with playing at home. I mean, it seems like he's more
mm-hmm,
comfortable at home. He hasn't lost the game at home, right? So for him to not
hundred
lose
percent.
a single game at home yet, it's kind of odd, considering it's been rough for him so far. Um, but yeah, I feel like they were able to get their weapons the ball, and that was kind of what won them this game. And then I really liked how they used the two tight end sets. It kind of opened up Kyle Pitts. It drew some of the defenders away from Kyle Pitts, and he was able to actually kind of like get open more. And he had a great game. But yeah, I mean, this game was very fun to watch. Both teams kind of played to each other, and it came down to the last second with a field goal from Young Wei Koo. So great
I
game,
mean,
honestly.
yeah.
I don't know much else to say about that, but because
I
I
mean,
mean
just
it was low
incredible
scoring, so it
that they
wasn't
could
like
get to the field goal range and with a minute 49. They got the ball, minute 49 in the fourth quarter.
yeah. I mean, for Desmond Ritter
I
to take
mean,
them down the
that's
field like
incredible. That's
that,
incredible.
yeah. After it's been rough and like they've kind of struggled, for him to just kind of like ease up and be like, okay, this is my team, this is my time to clutch up, and he did, he came through. And we haven't seen that from some of these younger quarterbacks. Some of these younger
Hmm.
quarterbacks are kind of folding in these situations where we've had a lot of we're so used to some of these old quarterbacks like Philip
That
Rivers,
just
Drew
know
Brees,
what to
Ben
do.
Roethlisberger, Ben Rodgers,
Yeah.
Tom Brady, all of them. We're used to them just being used to, and that's kind of like the line to being a good quarterback and a great quarterback. I feel like is
Yeah.
being clutch
Definitely.
in those situations, right?
Yeah. Making the right calls,
Yeah,
working with your offensive
staying
coordinator,
comfortable. Yep.
just being loose throughout the whole game, not tightening up.
Yeah, and it's like just keep that laser focus, and it just seems like some of these young guys are just it's not there for them, and that's kind of like we're so used to it, so it's weird to see, right? Like
Yeah.
but like with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, like they're some of the young guys that are actually clutch, in these
Well,
situations where
they've
we
been
saw Josh Allen go
in.
down the field. They got the ball
Whew.
and they went down the field within like 40 seconds or something like that,
Yeah,
and scored a touchdown.
that was incredible.
Right? So like you're thinking like,
I mean, I
okay,
feel
where was that
like
the whole game? Right. It's just certain
um
situations they can thrive in.
they've also they've been in more clutch situations, and they also know how to handle them compared to Ritter.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I mean, Ritter came from Oregon, right?
Ritter was from Cincy,
Ooh, ooh. Don't listen
and
to
he
me,
was
man.
drafted in the third round.
Don't
He was
listen to
drafted in
me.
the third round, and he wasn't. He had some talks about being in the first round. That was a weird draft class. Not really any stars from that draft class right now. Kenny Pickett's had
Ooh,
his ups and downs. Same with Desmond Ritter here, but everyone was talking about, oh, this player can go in the first round, this player can go for the first round, and then only one guy goes in the first round, and it's Kenny Pickett, and all the other guys are not taken until the third round, right? And it just like it was weird. It was so weird because it was like,
it is
yes,
weird.
the Steelers need a QB. They're one of the only teams that, but like some of these other teams could, like Carolina or I can't remember all the teams that wanted a QB that year, but a lot of teams wanted a QB that year, and it was very odd to see like, okay, there's so many QBs that could quote unquote go in the first round, and then all of a sudden only one goes in the first round, and then teams wait till the third round. So it seemed like Kenny Pickett was that number one guy for a lot of teams then. And then since he wasn't there for them, they were like, no reason to take him the second round, and they just waited. And they were right. This has just been one of the roughest QB classes ever. So we will have to
I
see
mean,
because
yeah,
Desmond Ritter, Kenny Pickett can develop. Um, but yeah,
I really am enjoying watching this season's draft picks play.
this draft
I
class.
think, yeah, this draft class. I think it's all been very entertaining watching them transfer
Mm-hmm.
over to the NFL. Um, all power to them, man. I hope they get better. Some of them aren't doing so good, right? Now, but
Bryce Young.
it's okay.
Yeah, we could talk about Bryce Young here. And this might be easier for you to talk about. I don't know if you caught the Panthers Lions game on Sunday.
Oh, I did. I man, it hurt. It
It
hurt
hurt you.
watching that
Yeah,
game.
so
I'm gonna be
Panthers 0
honest.
5, and this guy's from Charlotte, like we said earlier. So this is the game for him. Or this is kind of weird because the Charlotte sports has kind of been like in a weird lure here where they're getting
Very
all
weird.
the top picks, Brandon Miller, and then Bryce Young, and all they kind of have is Hurricanes right now. So I mean, it's like, okay, we got these top picks now, and they're supposed to be immediate impact. So I mean, we'll see Brandon Miller, but that's for a different topic.
So
That's basketball. But
Justin,
Bryce Young,
does
right?
Justin Jefferson's contract end this year?
He got an extension.
Oh, okay. Because I really feel like Bryce Young, especially after seeing in this Lions game, he knows how to throw the ball. He can throw
Mm-hmm.
the ball, but it's both his wide receivers. I mean, they're just not that good. Just
Yeah.
being
So I
honest,
actually
man.
wrote
Like
this
they're just not
down.
good.
Yeah, I wrote this down. Adam Thielen should not be your guy that's making plays for Bryce
Yeah,
Young.
hundred
That
percent.
should not be your number one guy for making plays for Bryce Young. That is a problem. And it's clear to me that, yeah, it was, you had to get rid of something to get Bryce Young. And unfortunately, that comes with the price of DJ Moore. But yeah, obviously, losing DJ Moore is showing, and it is
It's
insane
terrible.
how, rough it has been for the passing game without someone like DJ Moore in your offense. Um, it sucks. It really does because we don't get to really see how good he can be because he doesn't have that number one receiver. And that kind of goes with, the topic of number one QBs always tend to go to these poor franchises, these franchises that haven't been able to historically build their teams correctly, and you don't get to see how good this QB can be because they're not in the right system,
Yeah,
but these teams won't let him go because they drafted him number one overall, right? So hopefully they get something going.
it's
Mingo was
it's just
nice, but
crazy to me that obviously at the time Panthers had to give away McCaffrey and all that other
yeah,
stuff.
yep,
He was injured, which
yep,
makes sense. But imagine a universe where they kept McCaffrey and I have DJ Moore, Bryce Young, and McCaffrey in my
yeah,
offense. That'd
yeah,
be
no, I
they
agree.
wouldn't be 0-5. I'll tell you
No, they
right
wouldn't.
now, they would not be 0-5.
And who knows if the 49ers are undefeated if they don't have McCaffrey.
I know.
That opens a whole different thing in their game, and I don't think they're like without McCaffrey. I don't think they're 5-0. To be honest, not because
100%. I think they'd be 3-2
yeah, three
because
and
you
two or
got to
4-1, I
you
believe.
got to give Brock Purdy some credit. He's
Yeah,
doing really good, Mister Irrelevant. Everyone hated on him. Everyone shat on him. Last pick, he's really good. They put their faith in him, and that's just what I'm praying the Panthers do for Bryce Young. They don't drop him after 2-3 years.
mm-hmm.
They need to learn to work with him.
Yeah. I just it does suck that
Yeah,
because I thought it'd be the same thing with C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson, but they've shown like the things that you wanted to see out of them like right away, but like Bryce Young hasn't, right? And
yeah.
there's definitely going to be some growing pains, and this kind of same thing with Trevor Lawrence, who was also number one pick. We saw this as well. Uh, I just want to see him with someone that can, that is a playmaker,
Bring it,
right?
bring
That's
out the young in Bryce.
yeah.
That
I
young
just
power.
we have to see him with and then the line hasn't been playing that great either. So
Yep, terrible. In my opinion, terrible.
and there's been multiple injuries sustained on the defense with Shaq
Yep.
Thompson, C.J. Henderson, and J.C.
I mean,
Horn all injured.
it's every game actually. They're having a defense injury. It's terrible.
Right.